What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another video. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. We are talking about the Phoenix today, and we're talking about all of the electronics that I have rigged out on my office for this year. You know, we did things a little bit different this year. You know, we have a new format on the Bass Pro Tour, and this was ever changing throughout the year. You know, I was kind of adjusting things in and out as the year went on. So I kind of finally settled on this setup right here, and I wanted to bring you guys, I had a few questions of people asking me what I've been running this year. So we're going to kind of dive in, give you all the details of the setup that I've been running this year on the Phoenix, and yeah, give you a deep dive into the electronics that I'm using, what I'm using them for. We may even get out on the water and show you a little on the water footage of how exactly I use everything to basically, you know, all work together and end goal help you find more bass. Now, let me preface by saying this is not for everybody. I'm a professional angler on the Bass Pro Tour. This is what I do for a living. So you do not need these electronics to get out and catch some bass on the water and have some fun. So just needed to say that because I can already hear the comments, people saying, look at all these screens without catching any bass, yada, yada, yada. Just wanted to say that you do not need all this stuff to get out and catch some bass. So let's jump in. Let's show you everything that we got set up on this year's Phoenix. Okay, we're going to start here at the console because this is where, you know, I do a lot of the finding of the fish. You know, I sit here, spend some time idling, looking at mapping, all that sort of stuff. So let's just jump right into it. We have two of the Lowrance HDS 12 Pros. Let's get them fired up. We're actually heading out on the lake right here. So two HDS Pros right here. And then off to the side, we have a Humminbird Helix 12 as well. So we have three 12-inch units back here on the console. And basically I use this one over here for all of my mapping, my waypoint management. You know, I'll run a couple different maps on here, do all of my studying of maps and everything on this unit right here. This unit over here, this is my unit that does all the finding for me. So he is hooked up to my side imaging transducer, my 2D sonar transducer, down imaging, and that's what I'm displaying on this unit right here to look and find that structure that's underwater, and sometimes fish as well. And then this guy right here, the Humminbird Helix, this is just strictly mapping. I don't mark any waypoints. I don't do anything with this. This is strictly just for lake master mapping on certain fisheries. Sometimes I'll take it off right here. I have it on a ram mount here, so I can easily take this one off. It actually helps the cover fit better on the Phoenix as well. So I take this one off and on quite often. If we slide these out of the way here, you see the rest of these Lowrance units up here are protected by the DuraSafe E-Lock. These units never come off my boat. We let them ride on there all season long. So I rig them in the, you know, in the fall or in the winter when I'm getting the new boat ready, put these DuraSafe E-Locks on here, and they never come off all year. They stay locked and loaded on there, ready to go. Those are a definite, like I said, this guy right here with the Lake Master, it just kind of depends on the fishery, what I'm doing, if I'm going to have him on there. So real quick, let's come back here and show you the star of the show. This guy right here, this is my Active Imaging HD transducer, and it's mounted on the Bass Fishing Electronics jack plate mount. So you're not drilling any holes in your boat anywhere. It mounts directly to your jack plate, and it holds any structure scan transducer. You know, there's a bracket designed for every structure scan transducer out there. I'm running the Active Imaging HD, but if you run a Humminbird, a Garmin, whatever it may be, BFE has a bracket for you. But that's super important to keep your transducer sturdy and at the correct angle to get the best image when you're out there on the water. Obviously, we got the power poles, we got the power brakes back here. That's a crucial part. It kind of plays into the electronics. It's kind of more of a boat control feature, but got the power brakes on here as well. So let's head to the front and finish up the units that we have here. Now at the front, we did things a little bit different this year. So we actually went with three 16-inch units. So I have a Lowrance HDS 16 Pro. Over here we have a Garmin 8616, and up here we have a Garmin 8616. So I've run a Garmin 8616 up top here for my forward facing, my forward view on my live scope for the last 4 years now, maybe 5 seasons. I've been using the 16-inch screen for a while now up here, but I decided this year with the change to the Bass Pro Tour format, we're only allowed to use forward-facing sonar for 1 period out of our 3-period day. So I knew I was going to have to rely on this screen down here a little bit more. So I wanted to go with a 16-inch screen. So I went with the HDS 16 because now I am splitting him between mapping and actually using 2D sonar and or structure scan up here on the trolling motor as well. So I had to go with a 16-inch here. And then I felt it was fitting to add another 16-inch unit here for my perspective mode when I'm using that. Keep it nice and clean and neat. 3/16s on the front of the boat. It's a lot of graphs up here, a lot of weight, but we have all that mounted on the trick mount, and that sucker is rock solid. It holds those big units nice and neat on the front deck. Super impressed with that. That thing is awesome, holding all those graphs up there. So as far as transducers on the trolling motor, we have the Minn Kota Ultrex Quest. I love that trolling motor, but we've got a couple extra transducers. So this guy right here, this is another active imaging HD transducer mounted to the trolling motor. This is also a BFE transducer bracket designed for the trolling motor. Like I said, this is for when I'm in my non-live scope periods on the Bass Pro Tour. I wanted to have some sort of direction and depth up here, so I put this active imaging 3-in-1 transducer up here. So I have 2D sonar, I have side imaging, down imaging, all that available directly under the trolling motor. Then we have my 2 forward-facing live scope transducers. So we have the LVS 34 right here, mounted on a Fish Obsessed. I've been playing around with the different angles and whatnot, and that's something that I constantly adjust. You know, that's something that's constantly getting tweaked based on how deep I'm fishing, the clarity of the water, things like that. There's a lot of detail that goes into this mount right here and the angle that the transducer's faced and all that. So next up here, we have the Garmin LVS 62. So that would be the saltwater transducer. It's a bigger, bulkier transducer, but what it does is it shoots out further. So you can see stuff at longer distances. And what I'm using with that is in my perspective mode. So I'm using that to find structure, brush piles, grass lines, things like that. And I like that LVS 62. I'm sorry, I'm all screwed up on numbers. The 62, because it shoots out further. I can see that structure at a longer distance, and then it doesn't quite interfere as much with my forward view as it would if it was the same transducer. So if these were both 34 transducers, it would interfere a lot more than with the 62. So really love that setup right there for when I'm using perspective mode. I like the 62 transducer. I can see further, see better structure, all that sort of stuff. So that's the setup out here, guys. Now let's jump out on the water, and I'll give you a little rundown on how it all works out on the water. Okay, now we got out on the water. You can kind of see exactly what I was talking about. So this guy over here, this is all my waypoint management. If I need to make a waypoint, adjust a waypoint, anything, that's what I'm using this unit for. And of course, mapping and navigation. Over here, this is my setup. This is how I like to run my side imaging, down imaging, sonar. One little tip for you real quick on this, guys. You always want to make sure your side imaging is as wide as the screen that you're running. Doesn't matter if it's a 5-inch screen, a 10-inch, a 9-inch, 7-inch, 12-inch, 16-inch. You want to make sure your side imaging spreads the entire width of that screen. It really allows you to get the best detail and see all those little nuances out there on the bottom. So we're kind of scanning up on a point here. You can see the bottom has got a little bit harder, but there's a few pieces of brush here that we're about to run over. Now, over here, this is my Lake Master. You can see this is just strictly mapping. I'm just looking for differences and contours from this map to this map. Maybe find a little sweet spot on some fishery using that. But this is it, guys. This right here, this is my office. This is where I sit down, put in the time, put in the work, and find those fish. So here you can see we're going directly over top of a tree. And you can see that beautiful detail that the BFE jack plate mount really puts into that side imaging and down imaging. I mean, you can see every little branch on that tree right there. That's a ball of bait fish. You can see them on the side imaging as well. Really clean setup, and really, really love this setup back here at the console for putting in the work and finding these fish. Let's drop the trolling motor and I'll show you guys what this same stuff looks like up there. Okay, now we've made it back up front and we are positioned on that tree the same way that we just idled over it, so you can kind of see what I'm looking at up here. Down here, this is my perspective transducer, so I'm looking for little nuances on the bottom. You can kind of see them out here, and then we're gonna see that tree is right here. And as I turn the trolling motor to the right, you're gonna see it show up on the forward right there. There's that tree. There's actually a few fish sitting on it right there. I don't know if those are bass or not. We may have to drop a bait down there and see what they do, but that's how I use these two in conjunction to kind of really help find and be very efficient on putting my bait in front of those fish the first time. Now the Lowrance is a little bit different. Right now I have it just on mapping because obviously we're using the forward facing sonar, so I don't need any sonars on here. But if I was going to use those, I pull this out, I put it in this mode right here. You can see I have these transducers stopped because this is the side imaging right on the trolling motor, and I can just go in here, turn those on, and now I have a map and I have 2D sonar directly under the boat, as well as side imaging off of the trolling motor, so I'm able to see that stuff. Now I could actually turn this trolling motor to the side and we're actually going to pick up that tree. So you can see actually right here, now on the side imaging, now it's very slow and drawn out because it should be moving, but you can actually see that tree on the side imaging while we're sitting still. So it's pretty cool, and it's just a way that, you know, I can use a side imaging transducer to still find some structure when, you know, I'm not allowed to use that forward facing sonar on the Bass Pro Tour. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this little rundown of our electronics this year. If you guys are in the market for anything electronics, bass fishing electronics is the place to do it. They've got everything you could ever imagine for your bass boat, from trolling motor, cable sleeves to keep everything nice and neat, all the units, power pole or Raptor lights. They got mounts, they got everything for your boat to get set up and dialed in, and they know their stuff. So if you have any questions, call them up and they can get you hooked up in the right direction, and they won't oversell you. That's the cool thing, is they will sell you exactly what you need for your setup or your fishing. They're not just going to push you into a higher end unit that you know, you may not even need. So appreciate you guys tuning into this video. Leave me those likes and comments and good stuff down below. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys next time.